Have you ever wondered how these massive household name companies get their hands on millions of dollars, sometimes literally overnight, without ever talking to a bank? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a powerful financial tool called commercial paper. It's one of those things you might not have heard of, but trust me, it's working behind the scenes in our economy every single day.
I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, right? How can some of the biggest businesses in the world get access to enormous amounts of cash, often in less than 24 hours, and completely sidestep the traditional banking system? The answer is actually a brilliantly simple instrument that we're going to dive into right now.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with what it is, then get into how it all works. We'll look at who the key players are in this pretty exclusive club, weigh the pros and cons, and then finally, we'll connect all the dots to see why any of this really matters to you and the broader economy.
So let's get right to it. What is commercial paper, really? At its heart, it's surprisingly simple. It all just boils down to a promise. A very big, very important promise.
Okay, the official term is an unsecured promissory note. Let's just unpack that for a second. A promissory note is basically just a fancy IOU. But the real kicker, the most important word on this slide, is unsecured. That means there's no collateral backing it up, no buildings, no inventory, nothing the lender can grab if the company can't pay. It's a loan based purely on a company's reputation and its good name.
And yeah, that's the simplest way to put it. Just think of it as a very official, very high-stakes IOU, written by a huge corporation to, say, a giant investment fund. The whole system is built on one thing: trust. So how does this IOU, this promise, actually turn into millions of dollars changing hands? Let's follow the money.
It's a pretty straightforward four-step dance. First, a company issues the paper at a discount. So, for example, a $1 million IOU might sell for $995,000. An investor comes along and buys it. Then, after a short period, when the paper matures, the company pays the investor back the full face value, the whole $1 million. That $5,000 difference, that's the investor's profit. That's the reward for lending the cash. Simple, right? And this whole process happens incredibly fast. We're talking about a maturity period that's typically between just 7 days and 1 year. So this is key. This isn't for long-term stuff like building a new factory. No, this is for really immediate short-term needs, like making sure you have enough cash for payroll next week or buying inventory to stock the shelves for the holidays.
So who exactly gets to be in this exclusive club? I mean, who has the credibility to issue these IOUs? And who has the kind of cash lying around to buy them?
Okay, on one side of the table, you've got the issuers, the borrowers. And because this whole thing is unsecured, only the big, financially solid companies with fantastic credit ratings are even allowed in the door. But then you look at the other side, the investors. You see the usual suspects, banks, insurance companies, but then look at that, mutual funds. And that's where this might get personal for you. If you have a 401k or some other retirement account, there's a really good chance that your savings are being used right now to finance the day-to-day operations of some of the biggest companies on Earth.
Now, it's not a perfect system. Commercial paper has some incredible benefits for sure, but because it's all built on that foundation of trust, there are also some serious risks baked in. So let's look at both sides of the coin here.
So, what's the upside? Well, for the company, it's cheap money, often way cheaper than a bank loan. For the investor, it's a pretty good return on a very short-term investment. But the downside comes back to that word again, unsecured. If the issuing company suddenly goes bankrupt, the investor could lose everything. And here's the other thing. During a big financial crisis, when everyone gets scared and trust just evaporates, this entire market can just freeze solid in an instant.
Okay, so we've seen how it works, but let's zoom out for the big picture. Why is this market so incredibly important? Why should any of us care about these corporate IOUs? I want you to think of commercial paper as the oil that keeps the gears of our economy spinning smoothly day in and day out. It's a super efficient way for companies with some extra cash to lend it directly to companies that need cash, like right now. This is literally how major corporations make payroll for thousands of employees on time. It's how they buy the goods to fill their stores. It's the financial lifeblood of day-to-day business.
And as our source material really drives home, this isn't just some obscure financial product. It's a truly vital tool. It's a cornerstone of how modern business gets done and how our economy actually functions.
And that really brings us to the most important question of all. doesn't it? This entire multi-trillion-dollar market, this engine that powers our daily economy, is built on one single fragile concept: trust. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, what happens to all of us when that trust suddenly disappears? Something to think about.